Sorry, I had a wedgie. Don't act like you've never had one. You're welcome. I don't keep secrets from you guys. Anybody want French fries? Sorry. All right. We're getting off to a very rocky start here. I apologize. Hey, guys. How we doing? Everybody good? Well, oh, I got him right in the face. Oh, he's down. Okay. Hey, we are continuing our series called FAM. And here's this idea, in case you missed last week. FAM is short for... There it is. But we are not talking about your blood relatives, your mom and dad, all that stuff. That's not what we're talking about. I want to take fam, because that's slang. That's what the cool street kids say, you know what I mean? And we want to take that idea, and we want to put it in perspective for you guys and your friends. You know, some of us are going back. Who's already back in school? Anyone? Yikes. Devin, sorry, buddy. Who goes back next week? Who never got to take time off school because... Christian love us. Homeschooled. There he is. Okay. But here's the thing. As we go back to school, what we always want to do here as our fam, as our Elevate crew, we always want to help prepare you guys for things that are coming up, and we want to kind of examine parts of our lives and be ready for that. And so we decided that we wanted to talk about this idea of fam and friendships. And last week we talked about belonging. We talked about what it feels like to feel alone, but the fact that God created us to be in community with other people, right? So God created Adam, and then he said, oh, that's not good. And then he created Eve, because not just for marriage, which I know we use that same scripture to talk about relationships, boyfriend and girlfriend, back in March, but we're also talking about that God said, I don't want you to be alone. So, right? So that's what we talked about last week. So this week, here's my idea. I'm going to throw it out up front. Usually I like to put it somewhere later, and then we can throw it out there, and you're like, oh my gosh, it makes sense. But this is it. Tonight I want to talk about quality friends. Okay? Quality friends, okay? And so I wanted to I like sharing my life with you guys because it makes something for you guys to make fun of me about later. So it's really, yeah, it's fun. But when I was growing up, here's how I grew up. I told you guys a lot. I grew up in a small town. I lived there for a long time, and there's not a lot of people. And I knew everybody, but I always felt like I wasn't known by anybody, right? Now, part of that is because I changed schools a lot, moved different parts of that town, whatever. But here's the other part that I thought about, right? As I started preparing for this week, I started thinking about me growing up, and I was like, okay, so the friends that I had, let's think about that. Let's dive into who I was as a kid. And here's what I came up with. And I've known this for a long time, but it really hit me, and I was like, oh, man, that's exactly what it was. I was the kid who grew up in a house that didn't have a lot of money, right? We didn't have a lot of things. We didn't get to go on cool vacations. It just wasn't us. So the people that I was attracted to, that I wanted to hang out with and would befriend and want to hang out with them, were the kids who had the things that I didn't, right? So there's this one kid, his name was Ryan. I grew up with him, and I think in sixth, seventh grade, somewhere in there, I found out that he had dirt bikes. You know where I'm going with this, right? So I was like, hey, Ryan, why don't we ever hang out? I actually genuinely, for some reason, just didn't like being around him. But he had dirt bikes. I don't necessarily want to hang out with you. Dirt bikes. Do you see the dilemma here, right? And so Ryan, I was like, oh, let's go hang out. And then I found out, okay, this is where I just hung out with him for too long. It was called a Yerf dog. Have you ever heard of these? It's like an old school off-roading go-kart. This thing was nuts. It was like a miniature razor thing. Oh man, it was nuts. We would go out in the desert and all this stuff, and it was crazy. But I hung out with him because he had something. I had another friend named Alex that his dad was super wealthy. He invented hangers for your clothes or something weird. I don't know what he did, but he always got to go on these really, really cool vacations to Salt Lake City, and then he went to New York one time, and I was like, man, if I'm friends with him, I'll get to go to those places. The coolest place I ever got to go was 30 minutes from his house, but that's fine. But I wanted to be friends with him because I was like, oh, if I do this, I'll get to be a part of that. And as I look back and I see the friends that I felt didn't know me and I didn't have, it's because a couple of things. One, I jumped around a lot from friends to friends because I saw what they had and what I didn't, and I wanted that. But the other thing is I was not a good friend to them. You see, besides just wanting the things that they had, in general, overall, I was not a good friend to them. And that's the idea I want us to talk about tonight, is we're talking about quality friends here. And like I had friends that they had the best snacks like in my school, and I was like, man, I need more Fruit Gushers in my life, right? And there's the things, but I wasn't a good friend. And so now looking back, when I think like, why didn't I have so many friends? Why didn't I have people who actually knew me? It's because I was not a good friend to them. And so here's my idea. Here's my point. If we are attracted to people, and I'm not talking about boyfriend or girlfriend, if we're attracted to friends, typically, aren't we attracted to people just like us? Okay, think about this. Like, when you think about your best friend, aren't you pretty similar to them in a lot of ways? Like think about it, right? Like, if you really examine the people in your life, oftentimes you play the same sport. Oftentimes you get relatively the same grades, right? Oftentimes you like the same music. Oftentimes, like we go on and on and on. You have the same interests, whatever. It's because we're attracted to the same people like us. We're attracted to people just like us. It's a similarity thing. It's this attraction. Again, not boyfriend and girlfriend, but friends. You're attracted to people just like you. And so here is this tension that I have. Here's this problem. If that's true, if we are attracted to people just like us, who should our friends be? You see, when I started this, I'm talking about quality friends. A lot of you probably thought I was talking about the person across from you in this friendship talk. I want to talk about you and me. Because if we are attracted to people just like us, what type of friends should you have if they're just like you? And this isn't a guilt thing, but this is kind of a more like, I want to point out the problems that we have tonight, right? Because if we aren't good friends, if we're not good people who care for others and want to walk alongside them and love them and encourage them, why would we ever expect to find friends who do that for us? Now, you might be sitting there going, oh my gosh, he's not talking about me. I love my friends. Like, I just love them. They're the best, right? But here's what I want you to think about. Do you ever talk about your friend behind their back? And let me add this to it in case you're saying no. Do you ever talk about somebody telling the full truth, but it's talking behind their back? If you do, wouldn't you expect that people would do that to you as well? Because if you've got a friend that you can go to them and go, hey, let me tell you about Christian. Like, he's got this and these problems, he's this and that. Why wouldn't our mutual friend go to Christian and say the same thing? Why wouldn't when you create this friend circle, why wouldn't they do the same thing? Because that's who you're attracted to. That's who's attracted to you, is that type of person. Right? Think about it. Like, how do you genuinely treat your friends? Do you care for them? Do you encourage them? Do you support them? Do you come alongside them in life and say, hey, I'm here for you? And let me also put it into this perspective. I'm not talking about liking their Instagram posts. Right? A lot of you guys don't even do that. You guys just scroll through and expect thousands of people to like your pictures, but you never like anybody else's. All right? I'm not talking about just social media. I'm not talking about just texting your friend and say, hey, sup, we chillin', sweet, I'm out. Like, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about if we expect to have the greatest friends on this planet, which is what I hope for me, it's what I hope for you, it's what I want for my kids. If that's what we want, don't we have to do it first? Because if similarities attract, if we're attracted to the same people like us, if we're not a good friend, that's what we're going to get in return. And doesn't it seem like that's pretty fair? Like, if you're just a jerk all the time, why would you have good friends? Why would the good people or the good friends you could maybe list in your head, why would they want to be your genuine friend? Right? Like why would they? What would cause them to go, that jerk over there sounds cool, let's hang. Nobody wants that. And for some of us, you might be going like, no, I'm a good friend. But then again, what I want you to do is examine the people around you. I want you to really, for a moment, like right now in your head, close your eyes if you need to, think of your friend circle. What type of friends are they? Don't say it out loud because you're probably sitting next to one of them. But think about it. If you right now in your head are going, yeah, that they're actually not that great of a friend. Now I want you to flip the script and I want you to look at yourself, how you've treated your friends in the past week, this summer, last school year. I'm guessing for most of us, we are getting in return the same thing that we're giving. Right? For a long time, I always wondered why nobody ever invited like me over to their house to hang out. I was like, what the heck? But then I look and I go, well, I've never invited people to my house to take care of them and for them to eat my snacks, and like I never did that. So why would I get that in return? Tonight, I want us, as we go to small groups in just a little bit, I want us to really examine the type of lives and the example that we are setting. Because here's the biggest problem with this. If you call yourself a Christian, if you call yourself a believer, if you say that you know who Jesus is, but you're just a jerk, are you living the life that you say you're living? Right? Like if we know Jesus and we see the life that he lived and we see how he loved people, how he cared for the sick and he healed people and he just cared for those who nobody else cared about. He talked to people who nobody wanted to talk to. If that's the God that we serve and that's the example that we should set for others, why aren't we? We're supposed to be the example of the church, right? When somebody looks at our lives, and again, I'm going to say this every week for the next billion years. That's how long I'm going to live. Everything I say to you up here, I deal with. Your leaders can be jerks sometimes. Don't look at them right now. Like, it's true, right? I know you guys look at me and you're like, man, TJ's so perfect. He's always so sweet. It's not true. Okay, Kelly. It's not true. Chandler looks like a real sweetheart, but not all the time. Abby said that's a lie, right? But the idea is this. If we are supposed to represent the church and set an example for others who don't know Jesus, what kind of friend are we being? And especially if you look and go, my friends are not great, I'm just going to spoil this for you right now. That means that you probably are not a good friend. You probably can't qualify yourself as a quality friend if the friends you have around you are that. I'm not saying 100% certainty. That's not what I'm saying. You might have some rotten friends that you just love to death, but for some reason they just can't get their stuff together. That happens. But overall, if you look at your friend circle and you go, man, this is a bad circle. If you just know that in your heart, it's probably because you are one of them too. It's hard to look in the mirror and go, yeah, the problem is me. But that's what I want us to do tonight. As we talk about quality friends, as we're trying to figure out the people we should surround ourselves with, look in the mirror and go, am I someone that I would want to surround myself with? It's hard to look in that mirror and point out the problems of ourselves, right? It's easy to go, well, it's kind of their fault. But is it? Like, is it all their fault? Or maybe, just maybe, are we a part of the problem? Are we encouraging people? Are we loving people? You see, I want to dive into, if you got your Bible on your phone or if you need one, they're back there. But we're going to jump into a book called Proverbs. And Proverbs is a really cool book, and here's why. It's a ton of life lessons, and they use this phrase. They're pithy statements, which means they're quick, grabby. You could hashtag that. You could throw it on like a whatever, and people are like, man, that's good. Where'd you get that? And you're like, the Bible. Mic drop. Right? Like, the Proverbs is such a good book. And it was written in a way that's so easy for us as young people to understand. And yes, I said us. I'm not that old, okay? Some of your leaders are, though. I'm not saying anybody specific. I'm not even looking at anybody right now. I do have 3 kids, you're right. So we're going to jump into Proverbs chapter 12. We're going to go to verse 26. And here's what it says. I'm going to read it for you. You can look it up. But you should read all of Proverbs. Like, that's a challenge. This week, read the whole book. I know you're like, 1 week? Oh, my gosh. Yeah, do it. Here we go. Proverbs chapter 12, verse 26. Here's what it says. The righteous choose their friends carefully, but the way of the wicked leads them astray. So here's what this means. When you choose your friends, right, it says the righteous, the good, the quality, the best. When they choose their friends, they do it carefully. So it's not saying you walk in a room and go, hey, you're all going to be my best friends. Because it's not necessarily smart, right? Because odds are, like, that's not going to happen. But it says that the righteous, the good, the quality, the best, we look at the people around us and we surround ourselves carefully. You see, if you have a problem, if you have something you struggle with, sometimes the best thing isn't surrounding yourself with somebody who has that struggle. Because they might encourage you, and that's great, but you might fall down together. And I know we say let's fall together, right, all that stuff, but you want to surround yourselves with people who are going to help you be the best you possible. And the second part says this, but the way of the wicked leads them astray. So what it says is that life, things get in the way. Things that we want, not need, get in the way, and we go, but I really want to go dirt bike riding, and that's the only guy I know that has them, so I'm going to put myself there. Even though he smokes weed, like, it's fine, like, we're good. Even though he screams and disrespects his parents, even though he looks at pornography, it's fine. Because there's dirt bikes involved. So he says the righteous, the good, the quality, the best. You choose your friends carefully. We're called to love everybody, but it doesn't say we have to hang out with everybody all the time. Love everybody around you. Next week we're talking about how to love your neighbor, and I'm excited. But we have to surround ourselves with people who will help us. We're going to help them as well, but we need people who are going to encourage us, push us forward, and when we struggle, they're going to be right there to pick us up. But that means you have to do it too. You can't expect to carefully pick the best of the best, and you have these incredible friends who are amazing and have their life together, and then you're the problem because odds are they won't last for you. They'll see you as the weak link and go, they're just pulling me down. They're just dragging me to the bottom, and they're not letting me breathe. They're not helping me survive. They're not helping me get better. And I would guess none of you want to be that person in your friend group. I would guess that most of us, when we have that friend, we're like, I don't really want them. But then we go to the next friend, and it's like, it's the same thing. What's the problem? It's probably you. Next one is Proverbs chapter 17, verse 17. This one is tough, but it's so good. It says this. It says, a friend loves at all times, and a brother is born for a time of adversity. A friend loves at all times. It means no matter what is going on, you love the people that you surround yourself with. Again, you're going to have friends. Well, here's what I'm not saying. I'm not saying you have to go out and find friends who are perfect because you won't. There was only one perfect person. That's Jesus. None of us are that. We all fall short. But what I want you to do is look around, and are you picking friends who all they're going to do is drag you down? But when you do find the quality friends, are you loving them all the time? Or are you allowing them to just constantly pour into you and take care of you, and you just keep taking and taking and taking, and you're never giving back? Because if you're that friend, that is the friend you will attract, and you both will be trying to take from each other, and you're both going to be empty. The second part says, and a brother is born for a time of adversity. If you've got a sibling, you might fight with them a lot, but here's what I'll tell you. The bond of siblings is incredible. You know, when it says a brother, you know, oftentimes a brother it signifies strength in a relationship. It represents something that's so close, so strong. So close, so strong, so mighty together. It says a brother is born for a time of adversity. It means you as a friend, you as a quality friend, if that is you, if you would call yourself a brother or a sister to somebody else, it means that you were born for the tough times. Because again, we're not looking for perfect people, but we are looking for people who bring us up. But when we fall down, when there are hard times, we have to be like a brother, like a sister, and come alongside them and say, hey, I love you no matter what. I'm here for you. I'm going to be with you. I'm going to walk alongside you. Because just like siblings, we're with them each and every day. It's the same thing. A brother is born for a time of adversity. A brother, a strong friend, and this is you, this is who you should be, is born for those hard times. Next one is Proverbs chapter 18, verse 24. One who has unreliable friends soon comes to ruin, but there is a friend who sticks closer than a brother. One who has unreliable friends soon comes to ruin. If you've got crappy friends, you're going to fall apart soon. If you've got crappy friends, you probably are a crappy friend. That's just the truth. I know, again, it's hard to look in the mirror and examine ourselves and go, yeah, I am the problem. And I'm not saying your friends aren't a problem too, but I want us to really look at ourselves and say, yeah, I haven't been the best friend to people. I haven't taken care of them through thick and thin. I haven't been there to support them and encourage them when they fall apart. That's not who I've been. One who has unreliable friends, those who have not good friends, not healthy friendships, not people who will support them and encourage them, those who have those type of friends will fall apart and you won't succeed because you'll constantly be brought down. You'll constantly feel alone. You'll constantly feel like they're not there for me. Or when I try to reach the surface and take a breath, they're just like, no, we're going back down to the bottom together. But there's a friend who sticks closer than a brother. Again, strength in a friendship, closeness in a friendship. Are you someone that people would describe you as someone who is closer and stronger than a brother or sister? Is that the kind of friend that you are? Because if you're not, I'm encouraging you right now, let's get it together and fix this and be the example of the church and be the best friend that anybody could find out there. Let's be the friend who is more reliable, always there, who sticks closer than a brother, which is hard. But if you want that kind of friend, if what I'm describing, a friend who sticks closer than a brother, if that's what you want, lead by example and do it first. Don't wait for them to show up at your door and say, hey, I'm here for you. Because you'll continue to surround yourselves with people just like you. And if you're not doing it, why would they? I have 3 challenges for you guys tonight. If you want to write these in your, or type these in your phone, if you want to write them down, do that. The whole reason we're doing this series and talking about friendships and our fam, our squad, our crew, whatever you want to call it, because we go back to school, it gets tricky, it gets tough. We didn't see people over the summer, and now we're about to jump back into a routine that we had a few months ago, and we act like everything is different now. But it probably isn't. Just like when we go to camp and come back, nothing changed. As we go back to school, the people we surround ourselves with probably didn't change this summer. Probably. Maybe they did, and I hope so. I hope you guys have the greatest friends of your life this year. I really do. But 1, choose your friends carefully. As you go back to school, as you get back with those people you surround yourself with, as you try to make yourself better, try to make yourself the friend that you want around you, as you begin to progress towards that, I want you to choose your friends carefully. Don't just jump into any circle. Find the quality that you want to represent. Find the people that you would be proud to say, that's my friend. Choose your friends carefully. Love constantly. You see, again, I'm not talking about perfect people. You're not going to be perfect. Hate to break it to you. You're just not. But through the thick, through the thin, through the tough, as we continue to seek out the best out there, as we continue to try to find quality friends, as we continue to choose our friends carefully, when those friends mess up, love them through it. Love them constantly. Because wouldn't you want them to do that to you? If we continue to cast judgment and we continue to just beat people up, that's exactly what we're going to get in return. So love constantly. Don't ever stop. That's what Jesus did even in his darkest days. As he came towards the cross, he loved people. If Jesus could do it as he goes to the cross to die for us, can't we do it to the kids at school? To our neighbors? To our siblings? Can't we? Because if that's the friends that we want for ourselves, we have to do it too, and do it first. The last one is this: stick closer than a brother. Be that friend that everybody talks about. Man, do you hear about, all they do is support me and encourage me, and they're the greatest. I'm so lucky to have them around. Wouldn't you want your friends behind your back to say that? Instead of, hey, did you hear what he did this weekend? Can't believe it. Like, that's not fun. But wouldn't you want somebody to say, man, I am so grateful for them. I'm so happy I met them this year. I can't even tell you. I thought I knew what friends were, but that's my standard. And I know you're probably like, this dude makes no sense. No one's ever going to talk like that. Isn't it worth trying? Wouldn't it change your life if people did talk about you like that? But we attract people just like us. So if you're expecting people to say great things about you and encourage you and do those things, you have to do it too. And you have to do it first. As difficult as that is, sometimes we don't want to. Sometimes we go, I hate everybody. We have to continue to be the example that is the church. We have to continue to push and love people around us and support them and encourage them, because I promise you, when you do that, you will find the quality friends we're talking about, and they will do it right back. As you create this year, this fam, this group, this crew, whatever you want to call it, I hope it is the best out there. I hope you're setting an example for people to follow, that you're the standard of friends that people want, because you'll get that right back. As you guys go to small groups, I want you to be hard on yourselves. I really do. I don't want this to be a real soft, easy night where we just high five and sing Kumbaya. If you sing Kumbaya in your small group, that's really cool. But tonight, I want you to pick apart yourself. I don't want you to look at your friends next to you and point out all their problems. I want you to look at yourself and see, am I the friend that I would want? Am I the example of people that I would want in my life? And if I'm not, where can I work on changing this week, this semester, this year? Because that's where life change happens, is as we set the example, because we'll find people just like us. Let's pray. God, thank you so much for tonight. Thank you for everything you do. I can't thank you enough for sending your son to die on that cross for us and set an example for us. But I pray that as we go back to school, as we live our lives each and every day, that we would be able to stand firm in you and say, I am the example of the quality friends that we need in our lives. I pray that each one of us would be able to say that I am a quality example of who the church is and the love that this place has. As we go back to school and maybe we feel like we don't belong and we're looking for a new circle, a new fam, a new friendship group, that we would be able to start new, start fresh, and be that great example. We'd be able to attract people just like us, and the people that come around us are great. They encourage us, they support us. But I pray that on our hearts, each and every one of us would encourage, support, and love the people around us. I pray that we love constantly and we stick closer than a brother. In your name we pray. Amen.